Hello and welcome to the Rolling With series. I'm Will, and with me as always is the one who wept for there was no more land to conquer,
Sarah.
And today we're looking at Dominion Empires. Sarah, tell us about this game.
All right. Empires is a big expansion that introduces debt, split piles, and landmarks. It also includes debt and victory point tokens. All right, let's talk about this concept of debt.
Yes, there are certain cards you can buy, and honestly, it doesn't matter how much money you have.
Nope.
Because you can buy them with credit, and the credit results in debt. The debt tokens go in front of you. Now, anytime you want to buy something, you have to make sure you have no debt, because people don't trust people with that much debt. So you end up having to spend your money getting rid of all the debt so that you can then finally buy something with any remaining money. And you may put yourself into a great deal of debt during a turn so that it takes you a turn or two just to unbury yourself from the mountain.
In the meantime, you have access to a very powerful card, because that's the benefit of going into debt, is you can get a really strong card that you can play now. That's the whole point of debt, right? You can just, get the car of your dreams, just go into debt for the rest, well, not the rest of your life, but for several years at the very least. It's that kind of concept. It's the have it now concept, and that you have to pay it off before you go and get anything else. Now, for me, I really do enjoy this. We'll point out there's only 5 cards that have debt, and I've talked to some people who wish there were more than just the 5. But the 5...
Most people really want it now, don't they?
I guess so. They really like that mechanism. I don't know. But I will say it's a very interesting mechanism. So if it's something that you do enjoy, just make sure you put all 5 cards in. Maybe. I don't know. But give it a try, because it is a very interesting twist on having a strong, powerful card that you can have now.
Yeah, one dynamic thing that it does is it puts in a lot of more highs and lows extreme when playing the game, because your lows are really low because I'm paying off all this debt, but your highs are really high because I'm buying this giant enormous thing, whatever it is. And I have this super powerful card now.
Yep.
So that's where you have that very dynamic experience.
Right. And then there are split piles. And again, up to this point, we've seen a variety of different evolution or journey type cards. There's 6 different stacks. Most of them just have 2 card types. 5 of one card and 5 of the other. You put the one on the top and the other on the bottom. And that's it. They don't change. You just buy what's on top. And when you buy the first 5, they're gone. And then you get to the second type and that's what you buy. They're very interesting because they do work. The top one tends to work off the bottom one. And so there's a lot of interesting interactivity when you get that. The one stack that's different is the castles. They're victory point cards. Every single one of them is different, with the cheapest being on top and the most expensive being on the bottom.
Yes, this is to simulate the fact that your empire is expanding. And as you get bigger, well, you're eventually going to need bigger things.
Yep.
Including castles and now catapults instead of whatever the basic one was.
Right, exactly.
So that's to show the scale of your empire, and what goes in it changes.
Yep. The other interesting thing that this introduces is landmarks. They're a new horizontal card-like events, but they're different because they focus on scoring opportunities. So you don't buy them. There's nothing to pay for. It's just when you meet the conditions specified on there, then you gain.
Yeah, you gain points.
Most of them are you gain points during the game. You can gain the tokens, but some of them are at the end. I think we haven't played all of them, obviously, but I believe some of them kind of check at the end of the game.
Yeah, a lot of. Think of these are like in-goal type things for most games.
Right.
With some twists thrown in.
Yeah. And there are victory point tokens again. I thought this might have introduced this concept because the victory point tokens have been used a lot in other expansions.
Intrigue mainly.
Yeah. Most of them have a purpose that they go on a mat and they do a thing.
I don't think so. No.
No?
You're thinking of the other tokens. Victory point tokens you just get and they're yours. These ones are actually being used in a different way because they gather up on cards until the card says you can take them. Then they go in front of you to count at the end of the game.
Okay.
Because
I could have sworn there were some that did use the victory point tokens on mats, but not for victory points.
No, it had multiple tokens in it.
Okay.
It had regular round tokens that go on the
coins.
mat, and then it had the victory point tokens in the same game. They didn't go on the mat.
We've been recording a lot of these in a row, so I guess I'm getting some of them mixed up. There are a lot of tokens in a lot of the games. So in this one, Will is correct. You don't put them on mats. You
Put them next to piles.
They go on, well, they want to go on piles, but we have found that it's very tricky to put them on the pile when you're trying to take cards off. So put them next to the pile or whatever. But usually is when you play that card, you check how many tokens are on the pile and it does a thing or not a thing. At a certain point, you can take them. Otherwise, you get an effect based on how many are on that stack.
Yeah, and again, that feeds into the ebbs and flows of this game where it's a lot more dynamic than other games.
Right. Otherwise, there's more events, which I definitely appreciate. I loved when the events were introduced, and those are just, it's great to have more options.
Yes. So, Adventures was the first time we saw events. So if Adventure scares you because that is for a much more advanced player, this is a way to see them without being thrown into the deep end.
Right, because who we recommend this for is the more intermediate players, someone who is definitely beyond the basics, not quite fully advanced, but wants that more complexity, more depth without it being too overwhelming. Because this has a little bit of everything that's kind of just fun to dabble in, but none of it's going to break your brain.
Yeah. In fact, a lot of times it pumps the brakes for you because, well, the depth kicks in and now you have to slow yourself down, regather, and it's kind of like a tide moving in and out.
Right.
Where it's like, okay, now I'm all set and I can go again.
Right.
And now I have to wait and regather my strength and then expand again.
Yeah. Well, and like the split piles are not complicated. You just buy the top card and you just, that does what it does.
And if the deck changes, the deck changes.
Yeah. So there are neat twists that aren't overly complex or complicated, but you can get a bit more variety and options out of this set.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that will do it for us here with the Rolling With series. Remember to check out the other video where I do perform the flavor text of Dominion Empires. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can reach us on the various social media platforms at
Rolling With Two, that's TWO. We are on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and on YouTube. Please like and subscribe.
And Sarah, don't worry, we'll find another land to conquer because we've been Rolling with Dominion.